Welcome to the Upsiders. Hello, hello, hello.
Greetings, friends and family.
This is the Upsiders, a podcast from the Curiosity Collective.
Upsiders.
Retainer.
Upsider. Los,
Welcome.
would you kindly explain the premise of the podcast to all those who may be tuning into us for the first time?
Yeah, so we are your guide to the most fascinating things happening right now, just in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we take a positive spin on things, right? So there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
problems out there in the world. We are well aware. Off air, we actually talk about them at length. But on the show, we try and provide solutions, and not just solutions, but
Mm.
solutions that are already in motion. And so that's what we're doing on episode
Some
dos.
would call us we are something of a timepiece. We are the time traveler's guide to the present. Is that correct?
Oh, that's what they say. I try
Mm-hmm.
and stay humble, but yeah.
People might be listening to this for logging purposes of what kind of time was 2024, Los. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year to all of you. Happy New Year to my good friend Bertram over here. And by the way, we got to introduce ourselves. My name's Los.
Mm, mm-mm. Nope.
And then I
I,
have
I
my
want to be
co-hosts who will remain
the
non-anonymous.
pay no attention to the mysterious glass-eyed figure over here, otherwise known as Bertram.
Bertram. Ah, that's right. Okay. And so
Yeah,
what are
that's
we
right. All
talking
right,
about
fair
today?
enough.
Oh, but before that, this episode is
Oh,
brought
go
to you
ahead.
by NordVPN. I'm kidding.
Oh man, that sounded normal, Los.
Unsponsored,
Yeah.
unsponsored for now.
Make sure that you play the video games, Border Watchers. I don't know, like,
Clash of Clans.
yeah, we'll get some sponsors in here in a minute. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jeez, just make sure you hit that subscribe button,
Yeah.
smash that like.
Turn your notifications on.
Yeah,
But for
give
real,
us your
do that though.
password.
Yeah. Not your password, but do that. Feel free to
We'll log in
subscribe,
for you.
share with those friends and family
Why
members.
not?
Yeah, strangers.
Order me a sandwich. Why do podcasters always tell the listener to do stuff, Los? Do whatever you want. Turn it off if you want. This is
It's
the upside.
they
Just
call
real
yeah.
positive.
Yeah, we're positive, but you should subscribe. You should
Do what
share.
you want.
You
Do
should
what
share.
you want. Yeah.
Yeah. You should want to
Hey,
do it, but
maybe.
please do it.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Nah, you ain't got to do nothing. You don't know what's nothing. Maybe a lunch. Los, you were talking. You said, "What are we talking about today?" We're talking about artificial intelligence. What
Ooh,
do you know about artificial intelligence?
I know a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, it is defined the last year, wouldn't you say?
2 years, maybe. The November 20th.
Would you say it's Time Person of the Year?
It was, I believe,
Eh,
2023 was Times Person of the Year AI.
oh,
I
get
know
out of here! Was it really?
2024 was, or you know, the U.S.
You
United
ain't got to
States of
say that. That's
America's president-elect.
Taylor Swift was Times Person of the
Ah,
Year, I think, for 2023.
okay. But it should be AI.
Not AI. Oh man, I don't know. A lot of good songs.
Are you a Swiftie?
AI songwriting, you know, to some extent. I knew somebody that knew her.
Oh,
Went to high school with her.
whoa.
Yeah, we won't. Yeah,
Is that
whatever.
Pennsylvania? Is that
Hey man, I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
cool?
Oh,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, we should probably get into this episode. So AI.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so in
What do you want to talk
November
about?
2022, ChatGPT, owned by OpenAPI, was officially launched, and it just started this movement of generative AI, meaning you put a prompt in and then it produces content for you. So give me
Did, how how early did you start using it, Los?
um a couple months. I don't know, it was about the hype around it. It was too overwhelming at the time. And I was like, is it really as great as
Mm,
people are saying? Some people were saying
oh,
it could
interesting.
replace Google and you won't have to do this and that. And so I just waited. And then once I got into it, I was like, I get it. I get it. And
Mm.
yeah, so this started
I
a,
imagine you were an early adopter.
yeah,
You
yeah.
used to, you were one of the first people on there. I imagine it was somewhat of a mess.
Not necessarily. I was a bit more familiar with Dolly before that, which was also
Oh,
a generative model, which OpenAPI has since baked in, meaning it's now included into ChatGPT, but it was previously separate.
ah,
And Dolly was used to produce images. So just as we do carelessly now, Dolly was one of the first mainstream models to you say, hey, give me a spotted frog hopping through the North Pole or something. And then it would show you that.
okay,
Yeah.
right on.
Are you good with prompts?
Not bad. Yes, I think that is my strength. I got a master's degree in writing, Los, in English literature and writing,
Kind of
and
useful.
could not really not that useful, not as useful as you think. Um, and so the whole, I use it because I'm a teacher. And what is interesting was I sort of found my strength and skill now with writing, in that, especially as a teacher too, is I can kind of have that collaborative effort to kind of, read a student's mind, see what they're thinking, how to help them learn. And I noticed the same thing with AI, is that I'm kind of, we I think Jeff Bezos said we co-evolve with our tools. And so I understand that as my work is evolving through AI, I am also helping the AI evolve. And so I understand the symbiotic relationship there, as I have with students, when we're doing writing. And so I have really been very good at delivering very specific prompts to AI to get exactly what I wanted. So for me, it's been very much worth it. All that time I spent getting that degree, it's finally starting to pay off, because I could really collaborate with AI on a pretty successful level. There's not a whole lot that it can't do, because I get exactly what I want.
So what you're saying is AI isn't going to kill your job.
No, I've noticed. Oh man, who was I talking to? I think I was talking to. I went to the Mission 41K summit with TechPoint and the Richard Fairbanks Foundation, and they have the Mission 41K summit, which in Indiana they want to have 41,000 new net jobs by, I think it's like 2028. And they have talked about the advancements that jobs need to make with AI, and they said some jobs are going to be completely taken over, some are going to have to be manipulated in order to help assist AI, and these jobs are going to fundamentally change. And then some jobs are going to be augmented in a positive way with AI. And I think that's where my job is currently. I think it's in a place where it's going to make some stuff better, faster. We can get into some of that stuff specifically in the education world, but I'm noticing in my life that it has made significant improvements, with very few detriments. How about in your sphere?
Yeah, my sphere, I think I kind of use it similar to you. I think using it just to be organized, but as a creative parse through ideas. I think in the creative space, there's a lot of fear around that, whether that's Hollywood or the design space that I'm in, where I think, and I think we're in this sort of, and I'm speaking as a creative, we're in this pot calling the kettle black phase of things where it's a lot of the criticism, and justifiably so, is around, hey, they're training, these models off of our work and we're not being compensated for it. But
Sure.
I would argue, aren't we doing that personally? Like when I'm looking at creating a new project, right? What am I doing? Right? What am I researching? What am I looking for inspiration? Right? Obviously, it's existing works, whether that's a movie or a poster or yeah, a piece of fine art. I'm looking at that, extrapolating, and then working that into how could I use that in my work, right? Maybe it's not a,
Yeah,
a derivative or a duplicative. I'm making something which I consider to be somewhat original, but it's inspired by all of these things that I've consumed into my brain. That's exactly what AI is doing. And I think we
yeah,
feel a different way that a computer is doing this, and it's used to quickly produce content because it's a computer. Whereas
yeah.
when we do it ourselves, we're not considered stealing, right? We're not, yeah, I don't know, but that's
That's
just
interesting.
my take on it. But in my life, yeah, I'm just using it to parse through ideas, get concepts,
Yeah.
and things like that.
And for me, I'm glad you brought up the creative side of it. I've made much more progress in my own writing. You know, working on a novel, just from the coming up with ideas because I treat it something of a writing club, a writing partner, right? Where I say like, "Hey, here's what I'm thinking," and I do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Mm.
Um, but then there's certain having to do so much of it by yourself, like the entire process can can cause a lot of delays, can cause writer's block, right? Has been a long-standing issue, and I think AI kind of helps. I think we have to be careful of the ethical side of that. One of my writer friends did say, hey, it's getting that stuff from other writers, so it's plagiarism to some degree. It's taking work that some people should be paid for and doing some of that work. So I try and be very mindful of the ethical concerns and not outright plagiarize or anything like that. I try and stick to my own ideas, but I sort of help it motivate me, if that makes sense. And this it's a starting out process, so we need to have some very serious conversations as this new innovation continues to evolve. We have to be very mindful and help curate where we want it to go.
Exactly. And so, yeah, we're going to bring up some examples, but yeah, I think that's a perfect place for me to start with my point. And don't
Mm,
worry, those of y'all on runs or driving or whatever, we got the resources for you in case you want to revisit this. We have links to all of our sources
yes.
and all of that. But yeah, so just know we're not just making this stuff up. Um, we're actually getting it from places. Um, Credible places. So my first one is from the Harvard Business Review, which is titled "How
Have a
Can
yard.
How Can Generative AI Augment or How Generative Can AI Can Augment Human Creativity?" And what it the main argument is that it can help promote divergent thinking. And what divergent thinking means is producing ideas that sort of could intersect with each other. When we're thinking of things, right? I mentioned like a spotted frog. We know what a spotted frog looks like, right? But
Yeah.
what kind of spots, are there's different varieties of spots, and how can that intersect with different environments that it could be in. I mentioned the North Pole. What if you just know of what is the North Pole? You're just thinking of Santa's house, right? But yeah, there could be a different stage in how the North Pole looks in February versus September. And so you're just bringing all these concepts together, which you may think just literally, ugh, literally, or
Yeah.
yeah, or just based on your own previous biases and experiences. So it's really just deconstructing and breaking down those biases, which they call expert bias or expertise bias, and sort of challenging that so you could think differently. And so all these different abstract ideas that AI can come up with, you're producing more diverse set of ideas and hope to sort of springboard your creativity to bring up new things there.
That's very interesting. So, where do you see this going in say 5 years?
Ooh, in 5 years. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Because as I mentioned at the top of this show, uh, ChatGPT launched just over 2 years ago, and look how far we've come. Uh, Not
man.
covered in
Yeah.
this, but just in the recent weeks from the time of recording, OpenAI launched Sora. Have you heard of Sora?
No, tell me more.
So Sora is their new model for producing video content. So similar to how in,
I see.
ChatGPT, you put in a prompt for whatever. Now you could do that to produce short video clips. And so
Uh-oh.
yeah, when we talk about 5 years from now, and we talked about fears of Hollywood, like you're going to be able to produce actual rich content, media content, within the next 5 years. And what that will look like, maybe look a little funny right now when you're producing some of this video. You could see it's a little choppy. But yeah, I think things will be so much more fluid. And I think oftentimes we hit this wall of what stories could be, when we think of movie and film, or even writing, right? They always say there's only six types of stories out there. Um, Maybe AI could help break down those walls and there could be multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm going. Yeah, where I'm thinking now in the next
So,
5 years.
so what you're saying in 5 years, you and I will finally be ready to make our own version of Seinfeld
Maybe.
with with us in it. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm down. All right.
Yeah.
I'd say let's start writing it, but I don't think that's going to be necessary in 5 years. Like, here, you do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting with that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting too is, one thing I notice is that it's been a long time since our first episode, Los, and it's not because we didn't record a bunch of episodes. Isn't that right?
That's right. So you spoke of
Yeah.
AI, right? We used a tool. What was that
Yeah, I
tool?
sure did.
Riverside, which
Yeah,
uses
Jeremiah
AI.
Riverside was our original assistant, and we had to fire him because as a young AI assistant who was supposed to be doing all this work for us, he ended up making a lot more work for us than we needed, and we had to let him go. And we tried out multiple, because ultimately Los and I have been talking about how can we offload a lot of the nuts and bolts of podcast production and give it to artificial intelligence, because surely that has gone in a way that can really perfectly edit an episode, and make the proper cuts. And we noticed there were some really cool innovations going on, specifically with cameras. Right, is that what I really appreciated about recording this podcast and using an AI to do it, was that it knew when to it knew when to cut to you, have both of us on screen and cut to me, and it did some really good balance. But holy cow, were there tons of issues where ultimately we were only able to get off one good episode from the AI, and then what, like three ones that didn't quite work out, for various reasons. So clearly it's not perfect yet, and it's got a lot of work to do. But how new is AI podcast editing, Los? Are we talking a year, 6 months? Is it
Yeah.
not quite there yet?
I think, yeah, and thanks for asking that because I think I could maybe clarify there. When you first asked that question, where's AI going to be in 5 years? I think, like maybe our listeners and just normal people out there, I was thinking, oh, generative AI in 5 years, which I was like, okay, that's kind of impossible given how quickly the stuff is evolving. But I think
Sure.
you get at the point of what is sort of misconceived about AI, right? Is that we think generative when we're thinking AI because of how they've marketed it. But with podcast editing, I think what's already been in motion for some time is this concept or this practice called machine learning, in which you have a computer, whether that's a piece of software or your phone, which just learns based off your activity to augment or yeah, just optimize how you're using it. So when we think of podcast
Mm.
editing, that's a form of machine learning, right? So when they built the software, they fed it all of these potential podcasts and what a podcast, how it works, how you record it, how you edit it, save
Sure.
recording files. Newsflash, we're not sponsored by Riverside, we will probably never be because of how
Well,
we're
I don't know.
trashing them.
We'll see.
Yeah, but maybe they improve. They use that as maybe they want to use
This
us
is
as guinea pigs because they're
this is
like, hey,
yeah.
it didn't work
There you
the
go.
first time. Maybe it could work now. Um, but yeah, so in
It's
five
called the
years,
upside, Los. We
yeah,
gotta yeah. We'll be optimistic.
I think with that, machine learning is going to come a long way, and it's going to be able to just really be that sort of virtual assistant that we were sold over a decade ago with like Siri and stuff like that. Like, I think in 5 years, you're going to have
Mm.
a reliable assistant for a multitude of tasks. And that could include editing your podcast, uh, going through your email in a more productive and efficient way. Even your text messages, you're going to be able to say, well, remember when Bertram recommended that donut shop for me? What did he say? Where did he say it was at? Like, I'm just going to
Oh
be able
yeah.
to use natural language. And I think that's something I'm most excited about within the next 5 years, but I think a little sooner than that.
Right on. What you just said made me think of the Saturday Night Live sketch. I think it's called Amazon Echo,
Yeah.
where
The
it's
old people.
talking to old people. and it it says hey, how many strikeouts did Satchel Paige have last night? Like, Satchel Paige has been dead for this many years, and he says, well,
Oh,
I
what?
don't know about that. Just can you imagine just helping our elderly with AI, and
Yeah.
especially with hospice care and things like that, just
Yeah.
to be able to be an assistant to some degree, with some of our elder citizens.
Yeah. So what else you got for us, Bertram?
I'm glad you asked, my friend. As I try to pull up, there we go. So I put a link in the chat to two articles. One's a medical journal from the National Library of Medicine. The other is an LA Times article by Karen Kaplan. Um, there was specifically an innovation in esophageal cancer.
Ooh.
It's, esophageal cancer is known as a silent killer lurking within the human body. It has long defied medical advancements despite decades of research and improved treatments. The disease continues to pose a significant threat to global health. But because of AI, a new era of hope has dawned. The issue with this type of cancer is that it often remains asymptomatic in its early stages. So it's often very difficult to diagnose. And then by the time the symptoms progress, things like difficulty swallowing or chest pain, by the time those become noticeable, the disease may have progressed to a more advanced stage, which significantly reduces treatment options. Right. So this is something that is very difficult to make some innovations. It's causing some serious problems here. But AI is helping detection become more efficient and accurate. AI powered image analysis systems can analyze endoscopic images in real time, identify subtle patterns and anomalies that may indicate the presence of cancerous or precancerous lesions. This allows for earlier detection and reduces the need for unnecessary biopsies. Additionally, AI can assist in the classification of detected lesions, helping to differentiate between benign and malignant growths. By automating and enhancing the diagnostic process, AI is improving patient outcomes and reducing the overall burden of esophageal cancer. Los, I was just this morning listening to the South Park, the Cure for Obesity. What was it? The obesity special. Have you
Mm-hmm.
heard about this?
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched the music video that Butters sings about navigating the American healthcare
Yeah.
system? Where I highly suggest it. Maybe I'll put that in
Put
the show
that in
notes
there.
too, because as someone who I don't know if you know this, but Bertram's starting to get old, buddy,
Uh-oh. How old is
and
he?
have been
87?
man, yeah, I wish on a good day. And so, you start seeing all these doctors and they send you all over the place and they're, oh, well, now we got to go get this test. So we're going to schedule out in 2 months and you're going to go to this guy. And it's a wild adventure. It's like, I no longer need to get on roller coasters because I go to the doctor. You have to navigate the twists and turns of the American healthcare system. And so for me, I think this is really nice that if AI can detect a lot of these things early, and you know, it says it detects it in real time too. I think that can really help cut down on costs and you know, long-term care. And if it can detect these things early, I think that's a real game changer, Los.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, early detection, that's just, yeah, that's key there, man. Because you could think about, not just limited to esophageal cancer, but just anything, right? If you could get
Yeah.
heads up on pre-diabetes or, like kidney disease or, so many different things there. But tumors,
Can you imagine
just,
skin cancer? Hey,
yeah,
that mole don't look so good.
yeah,
Here's a scanner that you could just use to scan it.
yeah. Yeah, so that's an interesting development. One last thing I wanted to touch upon is how AI and even other technologies paired with AI could help kids with students with disabilities. And so I found
Sure.
this article from this I believe they're a studio which produces content for learning content. It's called 3D Bear. And they published this
Oh,
article.
okay.
There's a promise in AR/VR technology, which is augmented reality, virtual reality, meaning putting virtual objects in a physical space with glasses. You may know of what's it, Meta's thing, right? What they have, the
Oh,
Meta Quest or Apple's
yeah.
new thing, Vision Pro. But using that type of technology to help students on the autism spectrum to learn better. And we know how
Mm,
challenging those environments could be. You're in education, um, how challenging because of the limited resources
sure.
you have to assist um, properly these students there because they learn just differently. The
Yeah,
things you teach in your classroom, certain percentage of it just doesn't permeate because of the way they learn. And so
sure.
this type of technology,
Allow for differentiation is what we talk a lot about
there
in
we go.
teaching.
Differentiation. So applying that to help these students understand social cues with other students, right? So when someone looks them in the eye or something like that, or gives these motions towards them, they know how to react because they're practicing that in a virtual environment, which
Mm,
could help them thrive once they
nice.
actually get into those physical spaces. And so, yeah, using some of these tools with games that they've developed just to help them with their confidence and being able to approach there because often they could sort of deject themselves from social interaction just because they don't know how to recognize certain emotions or speech patterns and expressions, just as I mentioned. So yeah, just going a long way in helping these students with these technologies.
Mm,
So using that from a sort of visual standpoint with AR or VR, but using AI to sort of proactively give them these scenarios and these situations that they'll see in the real world, and yeah, and then it won't be so jarring and challenging.
that's amazing. I was just looking on the site. When you said, I think it was 3D Bear. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 3D Bear.
I was looking at it, and my dream in education since I started teaching has always been that I want to be the guy who makes some sort of virtual reality lesson where they can go back to, say, you know, a George Washington speech or Patrick Henry's "Give Me Liberty" or "Give Me Death" speech, and they go and they're sitting, you know, in the courthouse and they're listening to it. They're going and, you know, listening to some of these big speeches. Could you, like the Gettysburg Address, right? You know, could you go back and I would have to do the research to see, like, what did Abraham Lincoln smell like at the Gettysburg Address, you know, and can I recreate the scene so that you're there? Because then, you know, all of a sudden history is something lived in
Yeah,
and experienced, and all of a sudden, like, man, you're sitting on the back of the bus with Rosa Parks, you know, that would be very interesting.
yeah.
And so based on what I just saw, it's like we're not that far away from there. There's another 5-year thing, Los, and I've heard some of that work is being done now. So I need to go find who's doing those that work, and I need to join them.
Yeah, I'm you mentioned a great point. Like Smell. I always I always
Yeah.
want to be able to sort of synthesize that, but I am afraid of like computers could mess up. There could be errors. So when it produces like the wrong smell, that's
Yeah.
that'll
Lincoln
be
smells like
wild.
vanilla. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, I
Uh
don't think he would have smelled like this.
yeah, or if you could like, you're like in a flower shop or some like festival or something, and you want to
Mm,
share
yeah.
how that smells with someone who's far away. Imagine being able to send that like in a text. That'd be crazy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We're we'll get there, man.
Okay.
It's you know where you'll find it on the upside.
That's right. That's why we're here.
That's interesting that you brought up. That's interesting that you brought up smells. To well, you or at least I brought it up and you loved it. Because something else very similar to what you were just talking about, and this will be our last point. An AI sommelier, Los. What do you think about that?
Ooh, give me that. Oh man, I love a
Okay,
sommelier. Yeah.
you are something of a sommelier yourself, right? Los and I used to do this podcast called Booze and Basketball. It was our first podcast, and we used to do beer reviews. And Los would always talk about this guy, his buddy. I don't remember his name, Archie Clifton. I don't know, but we would talk about this character as if he were at the liquor store looking for the perfect beer and waiting for the beer, waiting to hear our review for the beer that we were drinking. Like, is it an A? Come on, give it an A so I can buy it.
If you've
And
listened
you
to
know, we
this episode by now, you could you could only imagine how long this character must have been standing
yeah,
there waiting for our.
yeah, absolutely. But the nice thing is, Clifton doesn't have to do that anymore. So the integration of AI in the wine industry marks a significant shift from traditional viticulture and enology practices to a more technologically advanced approach. And so I put this Forbes article into our show notes, and it talked about not only just how the winemaking process itself is being enhanced through ways like implementation in the AI process. Wine producers have increased their ability to produce a more reliable quality of wine. The AI monitors the process, the fermentation, the grapes. It's able to attribute mathematics and data and utilizing algorithms to select the perfect bottle. I think it's the project Wine Sensed. Involves a large multimodal wine data set encompassing images of wine labels and reviews from the Vivino platform. This initiative has led to the development of a low dimensional concept embedding algorithm that combines human experience with automatic machine similarity kernels, thereby enhancing the understanding of flavor perception and wine selection. Moreover, tools like AI driven chatbots are being utilized for customer support, providing real time responses and information about wines, including tasting notes and pairing suggestions. This technology enables wineries to craft personalized experiences for customers, enhancing engagement and satisfaction. Which to me kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the classroom with differentiation, right? Is my job has changed fundamentally as a teacher in the last 15 years just because of how much how a wide range of reading abilities, a wide range of mathematical abilities in the classroom, Los, is that a lot of these lessons are curated for the 50 percentile reader and the 50 percentile mathematician. And one of the issues that we're having is most students are not there anymore. Most students are 85% or higher or 15% or lower. How do you customize the education more? And just, textbooks have gone out the window because you can't use a textbook if most kids don't even read at that specific reading level. And so for me, I see a parallel between a lot of the differentiation we have to use in the classroom and the differentiation that this AI sommelier is using to give more customer specific tastings and recommendations. And so I think that is one of the strengths of AI, is that it can more better customize things for one specific person, which no one has time for. It just there's we don't have enough time in the day for humans to do this work. And so I'm really happy that AI is doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, it's just AI's. I think the moral of this story is AI is not bad, and it could be used for
Mm.
good. You know.
Man, thank you all for listening. You want to send us? You got anything else you want to add, Los?
No, make sure to subscribe, share this, yeah, with your friends, family,
Buy
enemies.
us a sandwich.
Buy us a sandwich, and have a happy new year. And we'll catch you not
Yeah.
on this side, but the upside. See you soon.
Thank you.